Am I the butthole for telling my husband that his culture is garbage and I won't compromise by incorporating it into our family life? My husband and I live in the U.S. Northeast, where I am from. John moved here for work several years ago, from the deep south of the U.S. where he grew up, raised with Christian holidays but never attending church. Coincidentally, shortly before everything hit, John's parents and his childhood best friend Dan and his wife decided to move here as well. This past weekend was the first that us three couples have gathered together since any of us moved here. We had a distanced picnic at our house. John sat down 2 to 3 minutes after I did, as he was settling our kid into his pen in the yard with us. Dan and my father-in-law immediately started to jokingly rip on him for being whipped and doing my job of parenting our child while he was supposed to be allowed to just catch up with the 2 other men. I was trying to politely deflect when it turned to how mean I was for not fixing him a plate and serving him before serving myself. If I thought a certain dish would run out before he got to it, or if he had asked me to, I of course would have. Dan and father-in-law continued to brag about how their families do it right, where they handle the outside chores while their wives handle the inside chores, including the care of Dan and his wife's 2 children. I think it's important to note here that both currently live in rented condos that by their nature do not have outdoor chores, and both their wives have always worked full-time, as I do. The whole day was kind of wrecked by that start, and I was frustrated when John left with Dan and father-in-law to go for a walk and left me to do all the cleanup alone while also looking after our kid. I expected John to apologize when he returned hours later, but instead he got at me for making him look bad in front of his friend and dad. He brought up how a traditional division of labor is a huge part of Southern culture, and how I was being disrespectful to his background by forcing Northern culture onto him and his family. He said he's been building up a lot of resentment the past few months that I make him do half the chores and childcare, since in his culture, women do the chores and hands-on childcare, and men do the fun parenting, the discipline, mow the grass, and bring in the cars for oil changes when needed. I was stunned but honest and told him Southern culture is garbage. It's bigotry. I lived in John's home state for 8 years, and I saw how Southern hospitality is reserved only for those in your in-group. Deviate from the norm, be queer, non-Christian, a POC, a liberal, a non-traditional woman, and then they turn on you viciously. Does every single person act like that always? No. But it's the culture. John is livid and says his culture is just as valid as that of other global regions, religions, and ethnic groups, so I am the bigot by not compromising with him here and incorporating aspects of his culture into our family life the way I would if his culture was Islamic or Asian or whatnot. Not the butthole, F that. John better knock that sexist crap off, or he'll be a single father soon. Right? Edit. Thanks for the awards, friends. Stay safe. I live in the deep south, and calling it a culture is insane to me. Nope, it's just deeply ingrained racism and sexism. They call it their culture so they have an excuse to keep acting like it's the 60s. The 1860s. Then original poster should announce she's quitting her job so that she can become a proper housewife. To embrace her husband's culture, of course. Not the butthole. Seriously, as a man, and one from a family with deep Southern roots, it is one thing to value the culture you were raised in, and an entirely different thing to use your culture to justify toxic behaviors. There are many wonderful parts of Southern culture, particularly the higher class culture, that I cherish and include in my life, but sexism, racism, and that particular brand of honeyed cruelty that pretends to be sweet and innocent has no place in my life. I consider myself a Southern gentleman, and a modern man with deep humanist beliefs. So I open doors for my, now erstwhile, wife, stand when she approaches or leaves a table and place a high value on good manners and bearing while also deeply respecting both her femininity and her humanity. In my marriage, we sat down and figured out how to divide all of the marital tasks in a way that was both fair, and allowed each of us to choose which tasks we wanted to do and which we would prefer to avoid based on who we were as individuals rather than any outdated notions of gender roles. For one example, I did nearly all of the grocery shopping, meal planning and cooking in our marriage. She on the other hand did almost all of the laundry, not because she was a woman but rather because the vast majority of the laundry was hers. I send most of my clothes to the cleaners. She also had that option but preferred to do it herself. Tell your husband that he is welcome to bring the best parts of his culture into y'all's life and home but needs to leave that sexist and lazy bullcrap outside. choose which tasks we wanted to do and which we would prefer to avoid based on who we were as individuals. My parents did this too, and it helped them a lot. And then they both taught me and my younger sister how to do these tasks as well. So Dad handled cooking, dishes, sweeping/mopping, mowing. Mom handled bills, buying groceries, laundry, picking up toys. There were other things too, and if someone was having a really bad day or was ill, the other would pick up the slack if needed, but they didn't argue and fight over it. It was just one of those things where they both knew what needed to be done and did it without complaining. Majorly love the term honeyed cruelty, props. NGL. My first thought reading this was that Jack wanted her to act like a single mom. That's basically what he said. He wants to be the fun parent, a Disney dad, whose presence in his kids' lives will be limited to what he finds palatable. What a trash father and husband. I've seen what being a parent and partner is, and I want out while still retaining all the benefits. F that noise. He's trying to push everything on up. Might as well be single, since I don't know what his resentful ass will bring to the table moving forward. If she was single, she would only have one child to take care of instead of two, and I can guarantee, the one she gave birth to is less hassle. Probably has a better attitude too. Which begs the question, what does she need him for? Not the butthole. Exactly. My dad having been raised by the stereotypical Southern parents, I'll go ahead and make the jump to say that this isn't culture, this is sexist trash. Glad ops not bending to his will. Oh, sorry, I meant compromise. Yay, that is just a bullcrap cover for his misogynistic views on family. I grew up in Georgia and currently live in Texas, so I've been around Southern culture my whole life. There are definitely some families that follow that lifestyle. However, my boyfriend grew up in Texas and he cooks, does the dishes, and is cleaner than me. I second going on strike until he apologizes and actually gets his act together. Not the butthole. This isn't culture, this is a group of men who think treating women as servants is appropriate. F that. Yeah, rolling eyes face, what he thinks is culture is actually male privilege, the system of advantages or rights that are available to men solely on the basis of their sex. And when he hung out with dudes who still have that privilege, it became the norm to him again, and he got sulky that he doesn't have those undeserved privileges anymore. Classic case of getting undeserved privileges taken away feeling like oppression when it's just equality? Right? Calling her a bigot for not respecting sexism? He so desperately wants to act like he's oppressed? He can walk his ass to his parents' home. The horror of being told by your wife that you need to be an active parent and partner. If you want someone to take care of you and feed you, go back to your mama. I'll end up doing all the childcare that way anyway, but at least it'll only be my actual child and not a grown-ass man too. Lol, I kind of pictured his head exploding when told he has male privilege. First white privilege and now male privilege? Lol. Oh, and NTA. Just so it counts. If all it took was some ribbing and a walk for John to come back into that house with misogyny powered at 100%, this dude is weak as hell. I couldn't imagine waking up every morning to a clown. That is not cute. Not the butthole. It's clear Dan and father-in-law have never satisfied a woman a day in their lives. If John wants to join that pitiful club, then that's just tragic. Exactly. If your masculinity relies on treating other people as less than you in order to feel manly, then you ain't the man that you seem to believe you are. Not the butthole. You should go for a walk with their wives and teach them northern culture since they've all left the south. Laughing my butt off. Yeah, it's incredibly convenient for him that his culture requires someone else to do everything for him while he doesn't do crap. I declare that random strangers giving me enough money to live off of so I can spend all of my time on Reddit is my culture, and if you're offended by it then you're disrespecting my heritage. Laughing my butt off. Yeah, it's incredibly convenient for him that his culture requires someone else to do everything for him while he doesn't do crap. This is the South we're talking about. They went to war over this. But my heritage, not the butthole. Exactly. Your culture is actions and created objects. A meal you can cook, music you can play, a dance, an outfit. Things like that specific to your background. Forcing other people to do things for you is not culture. You need to serve me while I sit on my ass watching TV with a beer. If you don't, other men will make fun of me. The bacteria of his infected butthole clearly have more culture than he does. I would argue that forcing other people to do things for you is Southern culture. They even went to war against their own country in an attempt to preserve it. Exactly. Not the butthole. His desired lifestyle isn't culture, it's control. I live in the South, and if I acted like this to my wife, she'd have never married me. Op should go on strike, and this guy better come back groveling for his supper. Being shamed by other men into acting like this shows how weak his mindset is. He should enjoy creating a life with Op, not making original poster be the submissive 1950 Southern belle his male cohorts believe she should be. What a D-bag. Not the butthole. Misogyny is not culture. Louder for the people in the back. Not the butthole. Misogyny is not culture. There we go. How do we write in giant letters? Hashtag then text. Thank you. The hashtag only has to be at the start of the post. I hate repeating myself, but thank you. No problem, dude. Have fun with the knowledge. Misogyny isn't a effing culture. Open your eyes. It's certainly part of plenty of cultures. But just because something is part of a culture, doesn't mean it's worth holding on to. It is just a crafty part of culture. Like homophobia, transphobia, misandry, and others as well. I never said it wasn't part of culture. I said it wasn't culture. Not the butthole. Also love how most of these men don't even make enough money to support their family, so their wives have to work and still carry the heavier load at home. Bingo. If you want a stay-at-home wife, then make more money. And be honest about it before having kids. This is the part that bothers me the most about this. If you want traditional roles and you're both alright with that, fine. If you drop that after you're married with kids, you missed a discussion somewhere along the line. At that point, it's shaming people into doing things your way. I have a friend from high school who is a Psalm with a pack of kids. They're Catholic, half the kids are adopted. And you know what? It totally works for them. It's not my style, but if both partners are on board and happy, then you do you. Hell, I'm a Psalm in the South-ish, no one knows how to classify the state I live in, and my husband still does the laundry, mows the yard and takes care of our son. I do the dishes, clean the house and do the grocery shopping. We are partners. I'm not his slave but an equal partner in our relationship. We aren't perfect and have to tell the other when to pick up some slack, but none of this men's work/women's work BS. Edit. So I guess I piqued everyone's interest in my state. I never knew there were so many states suffering from regional identity crises. I'm in Oklahoma, where we don't know if we are Midwest, Southwest or true South. We were Indian Territory during the Civil War, so can't even use that as a determination of if we were North versus South. For real. Guys, you get one or the other. If you want a Psalm who stays sexy and submissive, you better be paying all the bills, supporting the family, leading the way, carrying the load. If you want to split checks and bitch and moan that your working wife is asking you to help sweep or some crap while you're busy playing video games like an overgrown child, then you clearly missed the memo. Also though, I'm a stay-at-home wife and my husband still helps out with the kiddo and some chores and stuff. He doesn't expect me to be on the clock 24/7. Same goes for most Psalms I know. He was also born and raised in the South, so that whole argument is just silly. But also, even if my husband made all the money in the world, I still wouldn't want to stay at home. I love my work, but don't particularly care for housework. Not every working mom is working because their husband doesn't make enough cash, and even if you make a cool million, there's no guarantee you'll have a stay-at-home wife. Agreed. I just can't believe the audacity of all these below-average men I hear about who think their woman should be subservient to him when the man can't even support her financially. Smiley face. Pointing out how little they do and asking why is how I got my dad to contribute more. He and my mom work at the same place. I'd hear him ask my mom where's dinner and jump in with you're in the kitchen. Why don't you make it? She just worked the same hours as you. Do you have a disability that prevents you from cooking? Or do you not know how to boil water? That shut him up real quick. Same thing with any other woman's work. I'd ask if he has a medical condition that prevents him from doing it, then ask something he obviously knows how to do. The shame of having to admit he's healthy and knows how to do it in front of my mom has been enough to get him to shut up and start helping. 100%. Don't recommend women in heterosexual relationships to rely on their partner financially. At all. Ever. Make your own money. Why specify hetero? Plenty of women in same-sex relationships get taken advantage of and financially abused too. Things are 1000% easier if everyone makes their own money, regardless of the makeup of the relationship. Yep, this perfectly highlights the hypocrisy at play. These men are calling this division of labor their culture and yet don't hold up their side of things, the working outside the home so the wife doesn't have to piece, as well as the yard work piece that original poster mentioned doesn't apply in rentals. It's not about culture at all. It's about controlling their women. If it was about culture, this clash and re-evaluation of norms would have happened long ago when the inequality became particularly pronounced due to the shift in earning/homeownership options. Not the butthole. I live in the Southern Bible Belt, have for more than half my life. My husband is from here, and his family has been from here for several generations. We both cook, we both clean, we both take care of the kids. His parents were the same way. What he wants is not Southern culture. It's just misogyny and being a butthole. Thank you. My husband is Southern, and while we don't have kids, we split chores and do stuff for each other according to our strengths and weaknesses, with an eye towards overall equity. These people are regressive buttholes, which is not synonymous with Southern. If I tried to make my husband a plate, he'd first be confused and then be upset I didn't put enough cake on it, probably. Also, don't even get me started on dad does the fun parenting. Also, if Op's husband really wants to lean into rigid stereotypical manliness, he should change the oil himself. Bring the cars in for oil changes. Shaking my head. I hate all of this so much I can't even pick a least favorite thing to rant about. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to be the first to know about Red Rabbit Reader's new videos. If you like our videos, please like them on YouTube and share them with your friends. We welcome your comments below. Press to start another of our videos.